Hello, my name is Martina Mörtner. I'm a visiting MBA fellow at the Center for Digital Strategies at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. I'm pleased to welcome Collin Douma, Vice President of Social Media at Proximity BBDO, who is joining us today as part of the BRITS Technology Impact Series. Have you been able to relate it to a ROI, to return on investment?
Yes and no. Facebook has some fancy dancing numbers that they can come up with, and I suppose you could probably make a claim in the YouTube space as well, based off of number of views. But the return on investment for us is now measured on a campaign rather than on a tactic. And so social media typically falls into tactics. Is there a return on the investment of this particular tactic? Is there a return on investment for a out-of-home billboard on the side of a highway? I don't know that they can do that. But when you start adding up the entire campaign, you start seeing, well, we move the needle here. And if we are listening really well in the space, for instance, and we see that the sentiment score is very low around a particular brand, and we've benchmarked it, and then over time we've seen an improvement there, the return on investment might be that we've improved the sentiment towards the brand. The return on investment might be that we've increased engagement, or in some cases, like with Gillette in a recent launch, we hit a key business metric, which is we got 14 times the expected repeat purchase of a particular product that we launched. Those are the numbers that clients like to see. Those are the numbers that if I was a client, I would want to see. I don't necessarily need to see a number that says $2.20 or whatever that means, because in the bigger picture, the campaign number is how much it costs to do the campaign is really what matters, and how much have you sold at the end of that campaign.
What are the hallmarks of best practices in using social media and advertising? Can you share any success stories?
Sure. I mean, my favorite client is my most recent client, and that's Gillette. And the reason why I like Gillette is because it's a global client. So we can see some of our thoughts actually rolled out around the world, in Asia and in South America and Western Europe and Eastern Europe anyway. It gets kind of exciting when you see little things you do pop up around the planet. Success story would be the recent launch of ProGlide, which is the new razor system from Gillette. Now, consumers were hearing them loud and clear through social monitoring and just asking buddies in bars, do you really need another razor system? They were inherently skeptical, as we know guys are, and what is it, 10 blades this time? Is it how smooth can my face be? These are the questions that kept coming up, and so we knew that there was a lot of inherent skepticism. But we also did some studies, as Procter & Gamble loves to do, tons of studies around this new product launch. So we had a very good qualified stat that 7 out of 10 users preferred this one over their previous one, whatever system they were using. 7 out of 10 is pretty good. So we knew that there was a lot of believers out there, and all they had to do was try it. So they challenged us to launch this razor system with 1/10 the number of samples it was a sampling program, 1/10 the number of samples that they gave us for the Fusion launch, which is the earlier launch, but they wanted 10 times the awareness, and with 1/10 the samples. So that means we have a challenge in front of us. Skepticism around value. We're launching the most expensive system that Gillette's ever launched during a recession. We have skepticism around the product itself. Do we really need this? Et cetera, and this massive awareness goal. So the only way you can really do that is to engage in the social space and make sure you're giving the system to somebody who will actually advocate it. So we did that in tons of ways. If you watch ESPN, I'm sure you've seen this spot 100 times. But there's also the invasion spot, we call it, where guys just show up in the bathrooms and gyms around the country and scare a guy into trying it. John Cena did it. We had a few other celebrities do it. Champions, we call them. And in the social space, we did a sampling program that was targeted to influencers. So we reached out to bloggers, gave them a little widget that had a John Cena video in it, gave them a nice little shaving kit, said try it out, post this video, and give your readers 100 free samples. And we sent that widget out to a couple hundred blogs and we had a huge return on posts, and we sampled out that way, of which caused tremendous amount of conversation in the comments section below those blog posts. But we also did a thing where we did a shave studio in very high trafficked areas like Times Square or Dundas Square in Toronto, or various squares, you know, across North America. And we would get guys to come in, we would record their skepticism, we would record the moment of aha, and then we would also interview them on their way out and record their belief and post those videos on YouTube. Now, those videos didn't go viral. That wasn't the point. The point is that when someone's on Google and they're searching, I have razor bump and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can get less irritation, they're getting this video from a guy just like them saying, look, I tried this system and it doesn't hurt against my razor bumps. And so that amplifies their belief in using one sample to get potentially hundreds, sometimes thousands of referrals. And when you add it up times 300,000 samples, you end up with a pretty massive influence. So when we were done that campaign, we returned much higher on the expectations of repeat purchase, and we hit the Mark Pritchard, he's the big boss at Procter & Gamble, and he looked me straight in the eye when we were presenting this, and he said, how many impressions are we going to get from this? And I said, well, Mark, we're going to get hundreds of millions. And he said, I want 1 billion. And so I saw him in Cannes this year, and I told him we got 1.9 billion. And we got 1.9 billion from 300,000 samples. There was the previous system launch when we launched Fusion, which I wasn't involved with. It was before my time, but they did a TV spot and they handed out samples. So you can see the shift in the last 6 years. And it's pretty fundamental. So there's an example of success. The client is very ecstatic. They also were scooping up awards for a social media case that was done for you know, the Old Spice guy in Cannes, and it won a big awards. And you know, that was actually an extraordinary traditional type of TV spot that was done in a very social way, a very social idea, where they placed that on YouTube during the Super Bowl without actually buying a Super Bowl ad. And that was enough to get people to see it. So they really rocked it. They hijacked the Super Bowl, and the idea was very clever, and it resonated, and it lit up. So same company, different approaches, and both of them yielded pretty high business results for the client. And a happy client is a happy agency. So that's two pretty good examples for Procter & Gamble.